Welcome, everyone. We'd like to open the open mic session. The open mic session is designed to provide an opportunity for citizens to express their views on matters of concern in the school community. Sessions are not designed to encourage debate or lengthy exchange of views, but are to have the committee understand and respond to view. The committee would appreciate speakers keeping their presentation to 3 minutes. In order to accommodate as many people as time permits, the chair reserves the right to limit the number of speakers on the same topic to 3. All speakers must be at least 18 years of age or enrolled in high school in the Lynn Public Schools District and having discussed their views with a student government representative. The chair reserves the right to rule the speaker out of order if they feel that the speaker's comments are personal in nature. If a speaker's comments are directed at a school committee member or member of school administration in attendance, that member, through the chair, may address the individual. The sessions will promptly commence 15 minutes prior to the start of the regular school committee meeting. Anyone wishing to speak at open mic? Anyone for open mic? Last call for open mic. Seeing none, we will close open mic and we will call to order the 6th regular meeting of the school committee. Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Present.
Member Dugan?
Present.
Member Gately?
Present.
Member Pena?
Present.
Member Reed?
Present.
Member Satterwhite?
Present.
Mayor Nicholson?
Present. I would also like to welcome our new student representative, Oluwadamalade, a.k.a. Didi Oxiana.
You got it.
She's from Lynn Tech. Well, if you're applauding now, wait till you hear this. Didi is in the health assisting program at LVTI, is a certified nursing assistant. She is trained in caring for patients with dementia and Alzheimer's and is OSHA and CPR first aid certified. Didi completed the Salem Hospital Summer Youth Program and interned there in the dietary department. Didi currently works as a cooperative education job as a CNA at Brooksea Village. She's a member of the student board of Lynn Community Health Center and work with them to run a poverty period drive and make baby blankets. Didi is a peer mentor to a group of freshmen at LBTI and is also in the National Honor Society. She volunteers at the Lynn Library and has been involved with Girls Inc. for many years. She is currently working for the Girls Inc. as a teen health ambassador and a woke woman facilitator. She mentors young girls around topics such as body positivity, healthy relationships, and teen pregnancy prevention, and facilitates and organizes workshops. Didi is a dedicated student with a 4.3 GPA. Who already has 5 college courses under her belt. She has a passion for helping people in the community and plans to continue her education in the medical field by studying public health in college. Welcome. I would like to please ask those who are able to stand for a salute to a flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item is the minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes from the 5th regular meeting on March 14th, 2024.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next is presentations.
Good evening, everyone. This evening, Dr. Shannon Gardner will complete a presentation on the master plan for innovative planning for our district.
Hello, members of the school committee. I'm Shannon Gardner, Executive Director of Innovation. The mic. Definitely need the mic. Presenting to you tonight the district's innovation plan. Throughout the year, we have been exploring areas where we can use innovation to address some of our most significant challenges and improve the quality and value of a Lynn educational experience and programming. In Lynn, we are struggling locally with a nationwide post-COVID disengagement. This has led to levels of absenteeism that have a detrimental impact on student achievement. We also are working on school turnaround and need innovative approaches to school improvement. Our approach to confronting these challenges through innovation is 5-pronged. We want to renew wonder and exploration through learning through a whole district project-based learning instructional approach, which I will explore more deeply later in the presentation. Through an increase in modern, rigorous, and value-added pathways in our high schools, we will elevate our learning expectation while at the same time delivering something of value to students that will serve them far beyond high school. We will continue to build on something we do really well, which is created expanded opportunities for students to earn more college credits through early college and other advanced coursework programs and earn career recognized credentials by expanding opportunities for career technical education. At the same time we are expanding these opportunities, we are making real-world connections to related careers through career-connected activities, building meaning and purpose through career speakers, job shadows, and internships. In the next 3 slides, I'm reviewing the phases of the innovation plan to give everyone an idea of what is happening when, but I will go into more detailed explanations of what you're seeing later on in the presentation. So, phase 1. Already this year, we have added a STEM teacher, and we have enhanced technology in the STEM teacher's room to allow her to deliver real STEM education. We are working on a Magnet Schools Assistance Program grant application, which I'll explain more as we go along. We are starting project-based learning professional development for leadership, and we are working on My College and Career Plan development, otherwise known as MyCap. For phase 2, which we plan for next year, we are opening a new CTE area of biotechnology at LVTI and plan to expand the cosmetology area as well. We are exploring 4 more potential shops in the following years: construction craft laborers, building and property maintenance, criminal justice, and life sciences. We plan the project-based learning PD launch for teachers. We will continue to develop the STEAM Academy throughout next year, and we plan to develop pathways and expand advanced coursework at LCHS and LEHS. My College and Career Plan, MyCap, will have robust implementation next year. And we will build out infrastructure for work-based learning experience through pilots. For phase 3, our project-based learning professional development continues. We plan for the STEAM Academy launch in September of 2025. We plan to enhance alternative education with tangible career certifications. We continue to work on LCHS and LEHS pathways development and expansion of advanced coursework, and expand on work-based learning experiences to scale. Project-based learning is an instructional priority which research tells us will increase student engagement in learning, especially so for diverse learners. Some may say this is hardly innovative since it traces back to John Dewey in 1916. In the 1960s, it took a firmer hold in the medical field and was called problem-based learning, which was championed by Howard Barrows at McMaster University Medical School in Ontario, Canada. In this university, they saw a problem that traditional learning was causing medical students to crash prepare for demanding tests. This caused a churn of people who could have potentially been great physicians to drop out, and the ones who stayed walked into the medical profession with lots of book learning and no practical clinical experience and very imperfect memories of all the facts they learned. Something had to change in preparing doctors, and it changed in the 1960s. This type of learning made so much sense, and it made its way into the education sector, but it struggled because of 2 things: our desire to cling to traditional learning and standardized testing. In this era, we are recognizing what they had already learned in the medical field in the 1960s, that the combination of traditional learning and standardized testing is leaving many behind and making learning less memorable and meaningful. We don't want the nation's students learning to forget. We want them to remember. We want the knowledge they learn and skills they acquire to go forward into the future with them. Over the last several years, school committee members and elected officials have experienced project-based learning firsthand through your involvement with the 8th and 10th grade civics projects, which are examples of youth participatory action-based research. In learning in a problem-based way, students follow the spark of learning through a challenging question or problem, embarking on a sustained inquiry. Projects are led by the expert guides, LPS teachers, but students have some choice and voice in the learning pathway they take to answer or solve the challenging question or problem. Just like we have with our civics projects, students have opportunities in public forums to share their knowledge. If you have been to one of our civics days and seen the looks on the faces of students who receive awards for their excellent work, you know how valuable this type of work is. Seeing is believing, but project-based learning also has the research to back up its efficacy in the classroom, especially for minority group students. In recent years, several studies have been released that are large-scale and affirmative. The Lucas Education Research released a brief on the results of 4 studies that are gold standard randomized controlled trials of thousands of students in diverse districts from 2020 to 2021, showing that problem-based learning improves student performance. I will share a bit about just 2 of these for you because it's important to share that project-based learning also results in higher achievement. One of these was a 2-year study of students engaged in Knowledge is Action project-based curriculum in AP Government and AP Environmental Science, showing gains of 8 percentage points towards a passing score, and in the second year, 10 percentage points gained toward a passing score. These studies were done mainly in urban districts that had a higher than usual rate of low-income students taking AP exams. Another of the study was on the impact of project-based learning on social studies and literacy learning among second grade students. The study was performed in high poverty, low-performing school districts and showed 63% gains in social studies learning and 23% gains in informational reading, which equated to 5 to 6 months of learning. We believe, because we have seen it, and in fact I have studied it, that students who may fade into the background of a traditional learning environment often come to life in project-based learning, and their teachers see them in new ways too. They are following the spark and wonder of inquiry and learning in a way that breathes life into the educational experience. Excellent, rigorous project-based learning requires professional development for teachers and support from school leaders. The large-scale partner we are working with on professional development for project-based learning district-wide is PBL Works. PBL Works is the national leader in professional development of teachers across the nation and is part of the Buck Institute of Education, a highly respected organization. They provide training, tools, services, and research designed to build the capacity of K-12 teachers to design and facilitate quality PBL, and develop the capacity of school leaders to develop the culture for teachers to implement great projects. A smaller scale partner we will engage with is Partners in Invention from MIT. Partners in Invention provides educators membership through which they can take professional development workshops and also opens access to a professional community of MIT educators. The mission of MIT's Partners in Invention is to increase pathways to invention and increase the numbers of inventors from diverse backgrounds. Their workshops focus on building problem-solving mindsets and building their capacity to think and act as inventors. Lynn has wonderful and valuable opportunities right now for students, but there are many areas within which we can expand and modernize. On the slide are just a few example areas that preview the types of content we can bring into our schools that will give our students greater knowledge and access to the real applications they will encounter in their careers. Courses like these would be used to augment areas we already have disciplinary and early college pathways in, namely IT and business, and they are a sampling for you of areas that we are exploring in building out in the coming years. These areas truly are high interest and engaging for students. They are impressive courses to be on high school transcripts and can unlock new and deepened pathways for our students. The Innovation Department, in collaboration with schools, the instructional departments, and Deputy Goris, also plan to expand advanced coursework and ramp up college credits and industry-recognized credentials that position students for high-demand career pathways. Increase communication to students and families so they can meaningfully prepare and plan for their chosen pathways, and plan for and provide career exposures and work-based learning opportunities for students through career speakers, job shadows, and internships. This work of increasing communication with students and families is well underway this year with the work that has been done on the program of studies. This document provides clarity for families on the pathways and courses available to them in high school. But communication with students and families on these opportunities must start in middle school. This winter, we hired a grant-funded employee, Marissa Angeli, as our Early College Pathways project manager. Marissa is working with school teams to coordinate development of the MyCap in grades 6 to 12 and ensure evenness of implementation. MyCap is DESE's My Career and Academic Plan, which orients students to post-secondary college and career planning. It is done broadly across schools so that when students do meet with school counselors at those crucial moments of course registration and college and career planning, they and their families have had strong and robust communication to enable them to make informed decisions. Additionally, Marissa is working on something we have not to date been able to build, which is a structure for work-based learning experiences for students in middle and high school. Marissa is working on building up relationships with workforce boards, employers, nonprofits, and alumni to create the connections we need to provide career speakers, job shadows, and internships at scale for our secondary school students. This work is a crucial and underdeveloped aspect of LPS work that will ultimately pay dividends by adding so much meaning and purpose to the why of schools, and will allow students to see and experience the type of careers they may want to work toward. Our students need the purpose and motivation to feel inspired within themselves to strive academically, and this area is interconnected to student engagement and student achievement. There is much work happening in the high schools in regard to innovative programming. Advanced coursework represents many of the areas you see on this slide. Some of the things we are doing are expanding the number of credits students can earn in early college pathways, starting with the educator pathway. We are engaged in a partnership with Salem State University, the Smith Family Foundation, and Latinos for Education to attract more students to our early college educator pathway and deepen the number of credits they may earn so that they may have a full first year of college credits completed before they graduate high school. 1 in 5 high schoolers take early college courses, and that's a great accomplishment, and our work now is to deepen those credits and eventually have more students taking early college courses on the college campuses. We have added many new AP courses for next year, which are reflected in our program of studies. More teachers will be attending AP training this year than ever before. However, we still need to keep adding to the array of advanced coursework available to students. Increasing advanced coursework is also an evidence-based strategy in raising overall achievement. This has been evidenced through statewide studies in several states. This is why Massachusetts awards points for advanced coursework in our accountability. I shared with the members a file of the advanced courses that DESE will count toward this metric. Early college is also counted as advanced coursework, as well as the many types of courses you see there. I want to note that AP courses are the ones that you may expect to see, but you can also see International Baccalaureate and Project Lead the Way. We need more students to have access to more advanced coursework, which is why in addition to early college and AP courses, we are exploring International Baccalaureate. International Baccalaureate is an educational program that has a primary years program, a middle years program, a diploma program, and a career-related program. The International Baccalaureate is a worldwide, well-respected education program. It is cited in DESE documents such as the one you have defining advanced coursework, and also is recommended in DESE information about the Mass Core. We are currently exploring International Baccalaureate at the high school level. We would seek to begin with International Baccalaureate at that level, and we are holding conversations with both English High School and Classical High School about the diploma program and the career-related program. This program would be connected to a magnet school application. We have been keenly interested in providing valuable opportunities for students over a long period of time, but magnet school funding will give us the opportunity to take reimagining schools to a deeper level, which I will explain in upcoming slides. One last addition we plan to make is adding one section of dual enrollment each to Classical and English of a course offering from the National Educational Equity Lab. National Educational Equity Lab partners with top universities in the country, including Ivies and top historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs, to offer engaging college courses. We believe this will be a great opportunity for those interested in taking a course from top-rated colleges and universities. This slide explains what the Magnet Schools Grant is all about. The Magnet Schools Assistance Program provides federal grant funds to eligible local education agencies to establish and operate magnet schools with special curricula to attract a diverse group of students and desegregate public schools. The definition of a magnet school is a public elementary or secondary school or center that offers a special curriculum capable of attracting substantial numbers of students of different racial backgrounds. The request for assistance in the Federal Registry release March 2024 allows for an application of up to $3.5 million a year for a 5-year project not to exceed a total of $15 million. The two recipient proposed applicant schools are Classical and English. The features of a magnet school are the elimination, reduction, or prevention of minority group isolation in schools with substantial proportions of minority students. The LPS voluntary desegregation plan has been in effect since 1987. Please know that we have been following a desegregation plan all along, and so we are well positioned to apply for magnet school grant funding. Magnet school programs assist LEAs in achieving systemic reforms and providing students the opportunity to meet challenging state academic standards. Another feature is innovative educational methods and practices that promote diversity and increase choices in public educational programs. Courses of instruction within magnet schools strengthen knowledge of academic subjects and attainment of tangible skills. The initial 5-year funding improves district capacity to continue operating magnet schools at a high performance level after federal funding and ensures that all students in the magnet schools have equitable access to high quality education to succeed. I hope that seeing and hearing the definition of a magnet school and the features of magnet school programs provides good context for the educational reasons why we seek to bring in innovative programming supported by magnet school funding. Overall, I hope you have seen through the innovation plan materials we have shared with you that our innovation efforts in the district seek to modernize our spaces, equipment, and course offerings to provide state-of-the-art teaching and learning in areas like biotech, life sciences, engineering, robotics, and design. We also, at the same time, want to elevate the arts and find the beautiful natural connections and integration between the arts and STEM, especially in our design of the STEAM Academy. Okay, since I gave you a lot of information just now, I just want to recap for everyone the staged aspects of the innovation plan. So, for this school year, we have already worked on the Washington STEM, providing a STEM teacher and technology enhancement. We are working on a Magnet Schools Assistant Program grant application. We will have project-based learning professional development for leadership. And we are working with school teams on My College and career plan development. For next year, we are opening a new CTE program at LVTI of biotechnology. We are already working on that curriculum and building out that lab. And we are also planning a cosmetology expansion, finding we have many more students who are interested in cosmetology. Next year, we will explore the potential for 4 more CTE areas. We plan a project-based learning professional development launch for teachers. We will continue developing the STEAM Academy throughout next year. We will continue pathways development and expansion of advanced coursework for LCHS and LEHS. And we plan for the robust implementation of the MyCap. And we plan all throughout next year to build out that infrastructure for work-based learning experience and have pilots. One of those pilots will be tied to the early college educator pathway, allowing students within that pathway to have work-based learning experiences within our own classrooms. In the following year, project-based learning professional development continues, and hopefully the STEAM Academy will launch in September of 2025. We plan to enhance alternative education with tangible career certifications. And we continue, hopefully with the support of magnet school funding, to develop pathways and expand advanced coursework at LCHS and LEHS. And finally, we hope to expand in that year work-based learning experiences to scale with career speakers, job shadows, and internships. This leads to my final slide, which can add some understanding and detail for you for everything that we are doing. We want to raise the bar and also build a trajectory. We want to build programs that raise our level of expectations. The addition of engaging and rigorous programs and coursework can help our students master grade level standards. We want to build out spaces and programs. We need to maximize our spaces so that every school door that opens in the morning leads to a safe and inviting place with the best environment and educational tools and equipment we can provide. We want to provide modern, meaningful, and engaging learning experiences. We want school to be the place students can't wait to get to, and we want them to go home still thinking and talking about what they learned during the day. We want them to be excited about their learning and hopeful about where it is leading for them. We want to increase connection to students and families through clear communication of pathway opportunities. A crucial piece of everything we are building is communication with students and families. This is how we connect them to the opportunities and pathways that exist, and this is how we engage them in partnership with us. We want to open the doors wide for Lynn students with value-rich pathways to the future. While we work to innovate in the district, maximize space, and develop new programming and pathways, we also want to clearly signal that what we are creating, we intend to hold value for students that will add and enrich their education and will carry forward in the post-secondary pathways to college and career. You can just leave it there.
Remember doing what I want.
Yeah, so thank you, Dr. Gardner. That was a great presentation. A lot to unpack there. There's a lot in that presentation. I guess I'll start with the work-based learning. So that's something that really excites me. Some of the offerings, as I was going through it a little earlier, when I got home from work tonight, like some of the building and property maintenance, those are criminal justice. Those are things that can help small businesses as soon as kids graduate. So really excited about some of that. So that's exciting. STEAM Academy, very excited about. Could you talk a little bit more about the International Baccalaureate? I guess what's coming to mind for me is like international business or like kind of an exchange program type of thing. Could you just maybe go into a little more detail as to what the kids would experience in something like that?
So this is an advanced coursework program that has a framework, and it's similar to the AP, but it's also different in a way in that it's really working to shape how students, to shape the profile of students in the program, so that they're learning skills that can help them think critically and be cognizant of what the coursework that they're doing, how it will apply later in life, and how that they will contribute to the world. This is a worldwide program, and so if you looked at the advanced coursework that our state approves, there's so many offerings. And you can see all the languages, which reflects all the many countries that this program is in. So, at the high school level, there's a diploma program and there's a career years program. In the career years program, you take some of the offerings in the diploma program, but we could also tie it to some of our already existing career pathways. So we're just in the exploration phase and the talking phase and the learning phase about all of this.
Okay. All right, so I look forward to hear about it.
Member Dugan, can I
Of course,
just elaborate
Love
on
to hear
that?
it,
Thank you, Dr. Gardner. So we actually added some materials in your packet about the diploma program. The IBO has basically charted a K-12 and beyond 12 course, which has a diploma program in 11th and 12th grade. They have a middle years program that spans, they do by age groups, but for our purposes equivalent in the United States, we're looking at grade 6 through 10. And then a primary years program that can be offered at the elementary level.
Okay.
Obviously, some elementaries across, the country and the world have different configurations, K-5, K-6. The program is really a framework. It doesn't change our high-quality instructional materials or what the actual, it's not about a specific, we are able to select, it's not about business in particular, right? It has really nothing to do with business unless the area of focus that's decided upon by the school team is IB business, for example, right? But if you look at that page, it's really about international mindedness and investing in our students as global learners. Because the international diploma, right, says it all, that they would be able to navigate a number of areas. And so the way they divide this framework is in studies in language and literature. They do individuals and society, which would be like the humanities, philosophy. They have a theory of knowledge class that all students need to take. They have the math, the arts, sciences, and language acquisition. So they would have to, and then around that, they do extended essays, creative activities, and service. Community service is required as part of this framework. And approaches really, the teachers work on more of an interdisciplinary approach, right, on how to deliver instruction. So they would be working together to make sure that the students are making connections and relationships between their subjects. It's really not, it's not a program where students are necessarily doing internships or work-based learning. This is the most rigorous. This and Cambridge would be the two most rigorous frameworks that we could possibly offer any student.
Okay.
And so you have a list of subjects here, which you have language A, you have to have literature, you have to have a social studies class.
All right.
You must have language and literature. They offer 17 languages. And so obviously very appropriate, right, for us to have a menu of things that we want to look at.
Right.
And then they have to have performance in their primary language and their second language, which is chosen. So that could be Spanish if we offered Portuguese. It just depends on what, but in some of the IB settings that I have worked in, they've offered German, Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese.
Okay.
And, you know, around the country and globally, they offer other languages that we're less familiar with in delivery in classrooms. Then they do individual and society. So here's your business management class, but it's really around economics, environmental systems. You're talking about geography, global politics, history, information technology and global society, philosophy, psychology, social and cultural anthropology, world religions. And then in the sciences, you have the span, right? Biochem, computer science, design technology, environmental systems and societies, physics, and even sports related and health sciences, which is very attractive to many of our high school
That would be
students,
very
right?
engaging, yeah, absolutely.
You have the math, which you have HL and SL. The SL would be the junior year level, and then the HL would be the high level math at the senior, in your senior year. And then for arts, they have the dance, film, literature and performance, music, theater, visual arts. So it's a comprehensive framework.
okay.
And
All
we could still use our high quality instructional materials and also enhance that with college level material.
Okay. All right.
So I hope that gives some
That
clarity
does. Yeah,
to
thank you. Yeah.
what it is.
It did, yeah, thank you for the
Okay.
clarification on that, yeah, thank you.
If I could add, so the IB program really is to support our high school students. Well, if we expand it down to middle and the earlier years, students who access that program to be global members of society.
Right.
And so with the many different languages and cultures and the different countries of origin of our students, we want to see that difference as a strength.
Mhm.
And in order to harness that, providing a framework for them to really exercise their self-reflection, self-awareness, thinking, critical thinking, and application of that with a theory of knowledge. And, you know, really, United States of America doesn't have to be the last stop,
Doesn't.
right? And so really looking at students seeing themselves be anywhere and thriving.
Okay, great, thank you. And then one more question about the magnet school. So it said the grant would provide for a special curriculum. Would that be something that would need to change the curriculum that's in existence, that would need to come before us for a change? Or is that something that, again, would be more kind of supplemental in terms of what's happening at English and Classical?
No, so if we do the application, there are a number of priorities that are required. One of them is that they will consider applications where we do magnet programs within a school. The problem with magnet programs within a school is that they're often divisive, right? And they're not equitable. We're not providing access to all students the same delivery of instruction or themes. So if we chose STEM, for instance, and within STEM, a school decided to do artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, then students would pick which course of study they would do,
Okay.
right? So they would still have options within STEM, but ultimately the school will decide which are those course of study pathways that under the umbrella of STEM, but we would apply for the grant to offer STEM education,
Okay.
right?
All right.
And what those proposed themes are based on what the leadership, the teachers, and the students have expressed that they want to study.
Okay, so I guess,
So everyone receives, right, instruction in one of those pathways. What we're doing isn't, so it's not significantly altering curriculum. We're adding courses
Courses,
that
okay.
we haven't had before,
which is exciting. I
which is
appreciate
exciting,
that,
but we should offer
yeah.
them.
Absolutely.
Right? Whether we are a magnet or not, we should be offering courses like artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, because those are the courses that will give students the skills to be able to walk out of high school, get to either do career college or both.
Yeah. And then just, I'm sorry if I'm taking the floor here, but just to follow up. So let's say Lynn English, Dr. Pena decides, okay, we're going to do artificial intelligence. Would classical then have to do that as well, or would it only be offered at English, or, you know?
So we're really, my experience with the application is that the Department of Ed really prefers, right, that we have options that are generally different for students, and because we have open transfers, I think for us to secure a $15 million grant would be difficult if we offered the same exact programming at both schools.
Okay.
So I wouldn't,
So
my
that
experience
is-
tells me
That is a
right,
bit of a change then.
that we shouldn't add all of the new courses. We could offer the course, but it could be an elective versus a pathway that they're studying.
Okay.
They could still take an artificial intelligence class, but perhaps one school focuses more on what is the sequencing between 9, 10, 11, and 12, and maybe at the other high school, we're doing just electives, which you could take to explore whether it's something that you want to do in college or a career.
So, but that is a bit of a shift as to how we've been doing things in the past, which is okay, but.
Right,
just
so
to be
what we've
clear.
been offering is core and basic electives,
Okay.
right? For the most part, we have added some pathways, but I think to add those comprehensively, right, other than what we've been offering, like course of studies at Lynn Tech, which result in an actual, like, here's my certification, right? I know exactly what maybe I want to do next. I think that in our traditional setting, it's detrimental for students not to be able to explore a variety of courses and also pick pathways where they're actually looking at perhaps a specialty where colleges and universities need to come and say, we want your students, right? So that the options are on the student side versus, right, the absolute opposite, which is students, you know, attempting to, like, how do I get a scholarship? How do I get into this school? We want to reverse that.
Right. Again, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, good thing, whatever, but I'm just saying it is a change. So just to be clear, it would be a change from how we are typically doing things at English and classical.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Member Dugan. Member Pena.
Oh, thank you for the presentation, Dr. Gardner, and thank you for the clarification on the grant. Very excellent. That crosses my question.
Sorry, I
That's
took the floor
okay.
there.
No,
I apologize.
We're here to get answers. Can you elaborate more on the expansion for cosmetology that you're gonna plan for next year for Lynn Tech? Do you have any idea on that? Is that gonna include like males to have barbershops or anything like that for the males?
I don't know specifically about barbershop, but based on the Chapter 74 application we already have in cosmetology, there was an additional $50,000 that was offered to the district, and we used it to open another lab in order to have 2 stations and allow for more students to be accepted into the program. So we expanded and added more equipment and supplies, because due to the Chapter 74 program expectations, you cannot exceed more than a certain number of students in that particular shop.
Thank you.
Member Reed.
Well, first of all, thank you for this innovation presentation. I don't know if it's just my brain, but I love these type of things. We have so many moving parts, and so we can kind of all look back and have something to point to. And sometimes I'm like, what, didn't we just talk about that program? So super, super helpful here. One question I have, and I know I've asked this about other plans before, so I'm sorry to be repetitive, but when we choose these course of studies, which, by the way, I really like these because I think they meet people where they're at in terms of if you just want a high school diploma, if you want the apprentice, like I love that. It kind of, whatever your interests are, it has something for you at every level. But back to my question, when we choose these courses, do we take into account feasibility of actually, you know, implementing them in our schools, particularly like I think something around construction craft labor that obviously requires some technical space and space to, have hands-on learning, and also finding educators for these classes. I think, from talking with folks, that it's very difficult to find teachers for some of these, and that shouldn't hold us back, but I just want to know if that's something that is considered when we choose these.
Yeah, I will just add, since you brought up construction craft laborers, that there is a team that is meeting with Deputy Gorse and LVTI, and we are talking about the stage planning and exploring of new CTE programs. And a lot of those conversations have to do with the feasibility and what would we need to do, and where would that fall in a staged plan? What year could we possibly plan to do that within? So we definitely are actively exploring feasibility every step of the way.
I would like to add that Principal Gallo, because of his experience in opening programs and expanding programs, has given a lot of thought with the team, right, on a multi-year approach on what can be opened and implemented. We started some conversations about this back in August, walking the school, talking about what are the needs, what does he need space for, where could he put labs, where could he put additional, shops and machinery. And so there's a very detailed approach in a multi-year, phased out, what can we do each year. And I know they're also working on, what are the materials, what will we need to purchase. We're purchasing now for biotechnology to implement in the fall. It takes several months, right, to implement a program. So I definitely know that they'll continue working on that, and I hope that gives you a better understanding that this has been thought out by the actual school team versus the district team, because it's difficult for us to say in that environment what can actually be opened.
Sure, and I just want to clarify too, I wasn't talking about just these sort of trade-based ones, just all these different programming, I think I've asked it before just to make sure that we can actually have the capacity to do so and implement them as quickly and efficiently as possible. I have a few questions about the magnet. So I'm still a little confused. So what is the advantage? Is it just a purely application advantage and having sort of not it standardized across both schools? Is that just what they like to see at the federal level, or is it something else?
If we don't designate the programs as, or the school as a magnet school, as a district, we can't apply for the funds. So we could choose not to do that.
Would it just be one school that we'd have to choose?
No, so the intent is that the two, in this round, a $15 million application would be requested for over 5 years, so $3 million each year, divided between classical and English.
So they'd both have their own magnet designations, but they'd be separate?
Yes, and the funds have to be in the RFP and RFA, the request for assistance, very carefully identified what we would use them for each year.
Right.
And how they'd be dispersed.
And can I just jump in, because I am I correct in that you're also kind of asking do we like the reasoning for having different themes for the different schools, kind of sort of to Eric's question? Is that?
Yeah. So Dr. Alvarez, I think, had mentioned there was some type of application advantage. So I just wanted to clarify if that's
and I think there is an application, but if you don't mind, just to jump in there as well, because I think both Member Dugan and Member Reed, this issue that Member Dugan pointed out is it is pausing and worth noting this, because we are going to get this question, right?
Yeah.
Because for a long time you had this sort of operating principle that everything happens the same way in both schools, and I just want to, in addition to whatever the application benefits are, I from what I've learned in hearing from Dr. Alvarez and the whole team about this concept, and from Dr. Alvarez really from the time that we met her and thinking about what the vision is for secondary education, the idea of having an organizing principle for a school and what that can add to the community for a place. And I think we're in an advantageous position in our district in that we have the open enrollment. So we're not saying to any student in the city of Lynn that you can't go after this. I mean, I think one of the things that when we think about public education, the fact that it's open to everybody and some of the examples that are held up as positive education and how there's like limitations on who can participate and who can go, whereas something like this, an open enrollment high school, being able to achieve some of what we consider to be the distinguishing features of really valuable secondary education opportunities and being open. And, it sounds like there's ways you can create something like the parity that we would have been used to and like the course offerings itself, but like just accepting that this differentiation allows the schools themselves to pick a principle that they want to organize around, and then you end up attracting like-minded people that are interested in learning and centering their learning around the same and as a way to sort of build identity and belonging and community around those topics that are prioritized in education. Because even when you had parity, different institutions that have their own personalities, right?
Right.
And sometimes you lose control over choosing what those identifying factors are. If your policy is parity for parity's sake, and I think there's still a lot that we will be thinking about. And then part of what the district does is thinking about what are the standards that everybody has to meet, and what's the basic level of offerings that are going to be there no matter what. But then also allowing schools to take this idea and run with it and developing their own theme educationally. And I do think we're going to get that question a lot as we go through this. And so I think it's good that we're talking about it now, so that we can explicitly acknowledge it and also think about how to help other folks wrap their heads around it.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. I mean, I'm obviously not opposed to it. I'm actually, I'm quite excited by it. I just wanted to make sure that, I think like Member Dugan, that we're all just understanding sort of.
Is that fair? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think the only I think why people ask that question that you were referring to, and I think we will get it, is to make sure that there's not, I guess, inequities across schools in terms of, there's no exams. Of course, that they have fair access to entrance to either based on, their interests and their goals, and also ensuring that, I think, not one school's quote unquote left behind in terms of like, if, certain more engaged parents tend to bring their kids to certain schools, and then you have another school where, things get a little difficult. It's sort of like the, charter school argument and things like that. I just think that's what people think about when they ask those type of questions. So I think it's something we keep in mind, and like I said, just being.
I think what's really important, and as someone who has worked a long time with both schools, is that both schools feel like we are working on something equally excellent for them. Dr. Alvarez stated to me today, these are our flagship schools. So they're serving most of the high school students in the district, and we would want them both to receive the funding.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to add is that the application, Department of Ed does not allow, if the grant is accepted and funded, they do not allow during that 5-year period an application at at the schools that are funded for entrance. Like applications for student entrance are not allowed.
Not allowed.
The whole premise is that it's interest-based, right? And so as a district, we just need to make the commitment that we'll continue to have interest-based, right?
Enrollment.
We'll have interest-based and no application system, other than the schools that we already have in the district, which would be, Lynn Tech and FDCA that have an application with criteria. They don't allow for it. If you do it, you don't get funded.
Right.
So I do want to add that.
Thank you. No, I think that's super helpful, and I just hope we communicate this because I'm sure we'll get questions about this throughout the process. Thank you.
I just want to remind folks that the magnet school applications premise is desegregation.
Right, right.
So having a magnet school for both our large high schools,
Yeah.
like re-emphasizes desegregation. That is the whole premise. And I understand folks' fear that one school will get more than another school. That's definitely not the intent. And I think it's just a conversation about how do we make sure that both schools have robust programming, right? And so we are scheduled to do presentations to the school site councils, the students, and the families. So to give them an opportunity to share their insights about what's missing at their schools, what really would engage them, and what kind of fields and industries based on U.S. labor statistics and U.S. News and World Report on colleges and careers. You know, what do they see for the future for their children?
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Reed. Member Castellanos.
Dr. Gardner, thank you so much for your presentation. As you were presenting, you were answering my questions as we were going. I really appreciate that, and I think Member Sadoway was like, wow, like when do we, like you were running out of questions to ask because you keep answering all of them. But I definitely, I want to echo probably pretty much what my colleagues have shared. I did have a couple logistics questions around. I know we're in the exploration phase, and part of that piece of exploration, I was wondering if we've had the conversation around developing strategic partnerships amongst some of the funding concerns, as we just highlighted. Like, depends on if we do get an accepted application, how do we line up resources for the other school, if vice versa, or how do we actually expand on some of the pathways and programs that I'm looking at to sustain it. I think there's a lot of resources that would be needed to fully execute what we're talking about here today.
I think that's a really good point, and that we are actively looking at what are our existing partnerships that can help us with this application, but also what are the potential partnerships. And those will also have 5 years of the grant if we receive it as well, to think about sustainability and how partnerships can help us continue the work in the schools.
The grant does require partners to have letters of support, which means the school leadership and the team, the innovation team, must have conversations with some of the partners. That doesn't mean necessarily that they will commit to any financial sustainability, but it definitely means that they may give services in kind, or support students to have experiences, enrichment, and so those are the things that we would be looking for. And we would also be looking for the support of essentially everyone in LPS that can bring us a community partner that can support a themed program. We all can reach out to a number of people, connections, businesses, and I think it'll be really critical for us to be able to have a lot of communication to do that.
Is it 3.5 million? Is that how much is the grant? How much is
it's 15 max over 5 years.
Oh, but 3.5. But what's the?
So we could request, the intent would be to request 3 million for 5 years.
Okay.
Each year for 5 years.
Each year for 5
Right.
years.
Mhm.
Okay.
So $1.5 million for each school for 5 years.
Okay.
The other formula to think about sometimes is if when all of those resources, personnel, is looked at by the team, is to sometimes do front loading of year 1 and 2, where you maybe request 5 and then start decreasing, but in that first year, because it takes usually additional funding to not only hire personnel, but to also, you can't pay for infrastructure upgrades, but you can pay for technology, you can pay for example, lab equipment, right? IT equipment and things that students would need to engage in learning. So there's a number of ways that we could structure the 15. It doesn't have to be 3 each year, but it could be, 4 and give 2 and 2, start with that, and then, do a decrease. But to hit, the intent would be to still ask for 15. Remember, asking doesn't mean they'll fund 15. They could fund 13 or 14, right? And then do an adjustment and say, okay, this is how much you needed in years 1 through 3, and they work with you to do the financial piece of that.
And just some clarification around, so will there be an application process? I'm sorry if I no, there will not be an
For
application.
students?
Yes.
No.
Okay. So it would be, so eligibility-wise, how would that?
The
it's
students
the whole-
still have
Choice.
designated, right, so in the application, we would say that schools have, in the district, right, have been neighborhood schools, assigned neighborhood schools, but that our district has practiced choice between, the number of schools that we have, and explain that process. And that's been grounded in reduction of minority group isolation already. We just have never had a source of funding to support it.
Okay. I kind of thought about, first generation, low income students, immigrants, right? When you look at these opportunities, these course offerings, I think of life-changing opportunities, right? So, how to engage them, how to really allow that access to happen is critical. I think when I look at criminal justice or construction, craft laborers, like these are, some pathways for certain high risk or marginalized populations they're not going to four-year colleges. They actually, they need to get into a certificate program or right to a work opportunity. I think these are very valuable pathways and conversations that can really ignite into pathways into the 21st century workforce. I just really do, I do hope that we are mindful and really pay attention to our first gens and our low-income immigrants and really create a process to open up access, because we can come up with this robust game plan, but folks don't know about it, or if we don't have the power to get that information out there for students to access, I'm afraid that I just would hate for our students not to access this, because these are very critical steps that we're taking. It's innovation. I think it's a remarkable process that we're engaging with. I just would like to just make sure that we are really aiming at the root of some of our most at-risk students.
Agreed, and offering a whole school program would make all the difference, right? Because it's not a program that certain demographics would be attracted to or only know about. It requires a whole school effort to make sure that all students are informed in what those choices are when they select, like, this is what I would like to study. My experience with magnet programs in my professional career have been that these programs change student lives in more ways than one. And I think we'll see if we move forward with this and we're awarded, I think we'll see an incredible change in what we have typically seen as one of our graduates within Lynn. And I say that confidently because our students are no different than my two daughters, who are both Latina and attended magnet programs for a great majority of their educational career. And both of them very different student profiles of students. One was focused solely on really high and level rigorous instruction, academically speaking. Did a Cambridge program and left to the University of Florida with 30 college credits. completed 30 college credits in high school. And the other, my other daughter was a visual and performing arts student. Totally different profile of a student, which is why magnet programs work for all students, right? Because there's something for everyone. She happened to be a classical opera singer in high school. And she left high school with 32 college credits in music. So she could have been a music major, but she chose not to do that. She decided to study something else. But that type of confidence in being able to successfully, right, acquire that many college credits in high school changes a student's life. And so, you know, I think like the rest of us, what we want for our own children, we want for the students in Lynn. So, and I'm happy to show you their transcripts because sometimes I still don't believe that they left with that many credits. And those are credits that our family didn't have to pay for. Right? So when you think about the impact of that for our students, it's life-changing, it's significant.
Member
And-
Castellano. Oh, sorry.
And the rest of, there are so many school districts in other states that are doing this, and our students are at a disadvantage because we don't offer these programs.
Member Castellano, our MyCap, the career and academic plan, will start in 6th grade, which would expose students in all middle schools what the options would be in high school, and really start taking some like interest inventory. They'll have guest speakers, career speakers to come in. I implemented that in my previous district at 2 middle schools. It was highly effective, and especially when you can bring career speakers and folks in different industries that look like them, it's very inspiring for them to see that the options are there and they can see themselves in those fields. So we really are looking at this innovation plan to be something that starts since 6th grade, exposure, clear exposure for a clear plan for them. So it'll be accessible for all to be able to make an informed decision. I think our level also has to include a very robust community partnership with our families to educate them in the process and what students are experiencing and being exposed to, so they can encourage them as well and be partners in this journey with them.
Thank you. I'm sorry, yeah, sure.
Thank you for your presentation. You did such a great job, very thorough. And Dr. Alvarez, you did a great job clarifying just some of the questions that I had, so I don't have any further questions. I am excited about this as well. I love that it's not going to be an applicant system. I think that's important, being an LVTI graduate. I know that tech had a cap, and that is a disadvantage to some students, so I'm excited that now it's interest-based and it provides way more opportunities for our students. So, thank you.
Thanks.
Member Kaylee.
Okay, you ready? I'm really happy about this, but I do have a lot of concerns that were expressed to me in the community. One was from some teachers at one of the high schools, and the concern was they did not want to be labeled as business school or this certain track because they didn't want to be the dumb school. And I think we totally broke that up.
Yeah, so when we originally started talking about themes, and we spoke about business, but not in the context of business the way some of us went to school and learned business. We're talking about financial technology, which means something completely different, right, than what we were used to in terms of high school and college courses in business. finance, accounting. Not that those courses are not important or we wouldn't offer them for those students that want them. But when we're talking about financial technology, we're talking about systems, learning about systems, digital systems. Specifically, there's a program with Bloomberg Education, which has an actual certification course. And so it's called Bloomberg Market Concepts. It provides students in high school to be able to walk into a career, even just at an entry level, while perhaps they either pursue college or not, or are trained by a financial company or institution. And I'm talking about large institutions, because what they're looking for when we're talking about the large banks, when we're talking about Goldman Sachs, we're talking about Fidelity, we're talking about companies of that caliber, they're looking for students that can understand how to research, right, economic trends. There's a lot of math involved because they're downloading actual, there's something called a Bloomberg terminal, which is what stock brokers use and traders use on a daily basis. And students in high school can use those terminals to train and get this certification and do this right out of high school. So that's the business we were talking about. So I want to make that clear, because we're talking about live ticker tapes in a classroom, right? With financial news running all day long. We're not talking about old business school courses.
Okay. All right, thank you. Then I also heard from a very concerned parent at one of the high schools, whose student was a sophomore, and he or she was stuck in these study halls and wanted me to inform him of the new curricula that we would be getting into our district to help students to enjoy school, like want to go to school and not get stuck into a 2-hour study hall block with so many people. I think this would address those problems. That was the other concern.
Yeah, so certainly having additional elective courses is going to impact the secondary master schedules, and also hopefully get us to the number of teachers that we've always wanted, right? Staff, when we look at our formula and we say we're falling slightly below the number of teachers we should have, this will change what that represents in our schools.
Okay. And then I attended a opening from a group of students from Lynn English High School, worked over vacation, and they built a boat over February vacation, and I attended it. And the students that I interviewed or spoke with, what they wanted was more project-based learning, and I think that would address this from a student's perspective. I love the idea of pathways. I love the idea of science. I love project-based. I was not that student that could regurgitate facts very well, but I was more of a hands-on learner, and I excelled when I was taken out of that environment where I just sat down and opened my head open and said, okay, put all the information in, and then I'll just spit it right back out. That's why I chose to go to an alternative college for my last 2 years. It was called Goddard College. It was the first college, one of the first college of that level in the United States, and I am proud to say that I was a graduate. And what I learned most of all from Goddard College, where even though people that I work with in biology in the high schools, they laughed at me and said I didn't really go to college. But what I learned most of all is I learned how to speak. I mean, think. I learned how to analyze things. I learned how to look at things because it was project-based. I learned how to step outside of my comfort zone so that I could find things that I like, that I truly enjoy, and I don't have that fear factor any longer. But I just want to make sure it's open transfer. So one of my concerns is, what if a student goes into one group and then decides, oh, this isn't for me?
I mean, a student can certainly always change, right, a course. The only detriment to that is that if they're on a course of study that would give them certifications, and they can't, it would be difficult for them to recover courses that they've missed if they switch tracks. So, you know, I think with the staff at schools, right, and with guidance, we can definitely make sure that students, even if they want to switch, are making the right decision to salvage whatever they've already earned. It's not that they can't change it; they just might not be completers in a, you know, a certification.
Okay, and looking through all this material, I really am like so thrilled to see that, especially in STEM, that it's going to, like, these pathways are starting in elementary school, and then they'll continue in middle school, and then you can go on to high school, because I can't tell you what it's like to be a science teacher in a middle school and have half their children walk in and understand basic science concepts, and other ones are so far ahead that you have to sort of baby step, stop, bring along the people that are learning incredibly a large amount of information in a short period of time. But once you get them caught up, they jump, they move faster. So I'm glad that it's going to go through. And my last question is about training. I see Project Lead the Way on there. I took the Project Lead the Way course for Introduction to Engineering and Design, an intense 2 weeks program, which is really tough for teachers to take. But when you have the impetus of you're teaching that class in September, so you better understand what you're doing. You learn it quickly, which I did. My question here is, how are we going to afford to send teachers, and are they going to go to training now? I mean, like signing up for Project Lead the Way, like at Worcester Polytech, is that going on now? When would you be doing this?
So the training from when if we chose to go with International Baccalaureate, then the school would apply, and it takes a whole year for those teachers to be trained. It takes about 18 months. So it will be a process before it actually is in the schools.
Okay, and our teachers would be on board, I think, I hope.
Well, so certainly, you know, and not every teacher would be trained in IB either, right? So the theme, again, would be STEM, STEAM. Maybe it's, you know, liberal arts. Whatever the school chooses, within that theme, we can offer IB. IB does not have, it would be too difficult to offer IB to every student, right? IB is something that students that make the choice voluntarily to actually take those courses. We offer those courses at other levels of rigor within that pathway. So IB's only a framework.
Yep.
It doesn't replace the concept of whether it's STEM or anything else.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Gardner.
Thank you, Dr. Gardner.
Thank
I'm
you.
just going to call a quick recess. One of the members.
Make a motion.
Yeah. You don't have to, I don't think we have to motion. Recess.
I do gotta go.
You've got a lot going on. You have a bright future.
Dr. Gardner, thank you.
All right, we're moving on to new business. We have a Camp Rotary proposal to fund 54 Lynn students to Camp Rotary for 1 week of summer camp. Lynn Kids to Camp, and we have Dr. Cowdell here.
Hi, everybody.
Good evening.
Mr. Mayor, Superintendent, committee members, thank you so much for listening to the presentation again. For those of you that were not here last year or in previous years, I just would like to tell you a little bit about Camp Rotary. And Camp Rotary started in 1921, and it was a service project for the Lynn Rotary Club. The whole point was to try to get Lynn kids to have the opportunity to get out of the city and go into a camping type of setup. And they purchased the property back then, and it's 48 acres right on the shores of Stiles Pond. There's no motorboats allowed, but there's sailboats and rowboats and canoes and kayaks, a tower where the kids can jump off into the water. And the whole purpose of trying to get Lynn kids there kind of got forgotten at different points along the way. And then there were financial issues, and scholarships that used to be available disappeared, and it got harder and harder for Lynn kids to actually be able to attend the camp. The price of overnight camp is cost prohibitive for a lot of kids. So somewhere in the area of about 20 years ago, there was a commitment to start to have the camp go back to funding Lynn kids and try to get Lynn kids to be able to attend. So for the last 10 years, the project is, we created a project called Lynn Kids to Camp, and that has earnings from the camp tuition is funded back into scholarship kids from Lynn to be able to attend. So the project has given all of the Lynn public schools 2 students each, and that is given to the principal. The principal can select whichever students that they choose to. Can be somebody that is representative of the values of the school, has really done a great job and tried to improve, or it can be somebody that the principal, or a lot of times they delegate it to a guidance counselor or one of the school social workers to pick a student that just needs a break and gets a chance to get away and experience a week of Camp Rotary. It is a really fun place. I know that we just saw a real stellar presentation on innovation, and I'm not going to put down innovation, but it's a very traditional place. There's all of that technology and wonderful world of Bloomberg. You're not going to find any of that at Camp Rotary. There's no computers, there's no TVs, there's no telephones, there's no cell phones. So that actually is one of the culture shocks that the kids experience when they come. Is what? No cell phones? No cell phones allowed. I'm sorry?
There's a boat bell.
There is a bell to ring the boats, but it is actually part of the incredible learning that takes place at camp as well, because what happens is that the kids now have to become independent. There's a break for 1 week from the connection that they have with home. They're forced into actually talking to each other and socializing with each other. They have to make new friends because a real lot of them, especially the kids that are coming, if there's just 1 or 2 of them coming from a school, a lot of times they don't know anybody there. So when they get there, it's really kind of scary for them. But it forces them, and it's a sheltered type of independence because the counselors there are awesome, and they're making sure that friendships happen. And a real lot of them end up becoming CITs and then staff members. I know I'm going over the 3 minutes, I promise, I'm sorry. But
Give them patience, so please take it.
Thank you. But we've been lucky enough to have Dee Dee, I was listening to your resume, but we've been lucky enough to have a lot of kids coming from the high schools that come up and work there. A couple of the Lynn Tech Culinary Arts kids came up and worked in our kitchen, and one of them that worked there about 6 years ago is returning as our night chef this year because he went on to become a chef. And I just remember one of the kids I was checking on in the kitchen saying, "How you doing? You okay?" And it was a kid from Lynn, and he said to me, "Yeah, but I feel like I've been beamed into an episode of a Disney Channel here." I said, "What do you?" He said, "People just say hi to you and smile, and I don't." So it's just a great place to be. So I'm happy that youth service managers, our board of directors, has gone out of their way to make sure that with competing demands for our budget, it's really cool to see that the board of directors has again prioritized Lynn Kids to Camp and said, no, we want to make sure that we stay true to our mission. So I just wanted to say thank you for letting us give this offer to the school kids of Lynn again.
Thank you. Yeah, Member Gately.
I have to disagree with you on one thing. I think that Camp Rotary is project-based for all the learning that students get out of that camp. Are you kidding me? And then they follow their own pathway. It's a wonderful program. I will highly recommend.
Motion, second.
Roll call.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Member Reed?
Yes.
Member Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Thank you so much
Thank
to
you.
Thank
you for the presentation and to Camp Rotary for this incredible opportunity for our students. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Night,
you, Dr.
everybody.
Cottrell.
Thank you.
We have a field trip request for Pickering Middle School Grade 8 to Canopy Lake Park, Salem, New Hampshire on June 10th. What's the recommendation?
The recommendation is to approve the request for Pickering Middle School to take their 8th graders to Salem, New Hampshire.
It's the will of the committee.
Make a motion to allow the field trip from Pickering Middle School, grade 8, to Canopy Lake, Salem, New Hampshire, on June 10th, 2024.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. A request to accept a donation of $1,000 from the Curtin family to the music department. Curtin family is proud to make its donation to fund loaner instruments in memory of their mother, Shirley Curtin, a longtime band parent and supporter of the arts in the Lynn Public Schools system. Very nice. What's the recommendation of the superintendent?
To accept the donation?
What's the will of the committee?
Make a motion to accept the donation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And a donation from the Orchestra Parent Booster Group of an upright bass bass to the All City Orchestra. What's the recommendation, Superintendent?
So moved.
The recommendation is to accept the donation.
And it sounds like we have a motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Student Opportunity Act submission.
So in your packets, you have an actual SOA plan. And just to center everyone around what the purpose of this plan is, the SOA plan is the district's plan where we identify through our data what the disparities in student learning are. And so that basically drives how not only is the actual, everything that you see here as you turn from page 1, and then in section 2, when it talks about on that bottom box, the data's at the top of what are the areas of student demographics that we're actually addressing with this plan. That includes students with disabilities, identified English learners. We also have students that enroll 15 plus, and we have the students for the 9th grade passing rate, as well as our students that are identified as Ls. And so in the second part of the analysis, it talks about what are those systems that we're investing in as a district, and those would be fall under our multi-tiered systems of support, investing in tier 1 instructional strategies, data-informed decision-making, early intervention and prevention, and differentiated instruction. And so, the number of, the rest of the SOA really just details what their requirements for us are to report, not just on like what are the interventions and personnel, but also financial categories that we have to submit. And so, with our focus initially in 14 targeted schools, the data that is identified here has been discussed on a monthly basis, not only with the district instructional leadership team, but at the school sites. It's aligned to the district prioritization plan and the curriculum and instruction team that brings all of this information forward, and also for executive leadership that meets with a required meeting that we have with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education on a monthly basis. So they really help us and guide us to drive this plan in terms of where the priorities are funded. All of these categories that are cited are evidence-based programs that we submit to DESE upon your approval. And all of them are intended to address the disparities between the student achievement of the demographic groups in Lynn.
Can I just have, share just one error that's in it on page 16, where the double asterisk is, that says clinical model. It says 71 clinicians, it should say 67. Thank you to Mr. McHugh for catching it. I've already corrected it in the GEMS system.
Page 16?
Page 16 at the top, where the double asterisk
67.
is. It says clinical model will continue to sustain. It should be 67. And that's the 67, Mr. McHugh, please correct me if I'm wrong, that are moving from ESSER into appropriations.
Okay.
Member Reed, Member Castellanos.
A teacher reached out to me earlier and just wanted some clarification. It's my understanding that a survey went out last week. I think it's to families as well as teachers and other stakeholders. They wanted to know if and how that data specifically is worked into the SOA plan. I guess just more generally to how that type of input is worked into the SOA plan.
Well, certainly anything that we request as feedback, right, are qualitative data points that we share with DESE. But certainly, we want them to understand what is driving, right, this plan. We have 14 schools in need of targeted assistance. And this plan, part of that was intended to address those student achievement gaps.
I think the context of the concern was the short turnaround time.
So each year, this is a 3-year plan. This is not new. It's an updated for this year.
So but the data in the survey that was collected last week, is that for this plan, or is that for going forward?
So there's also, we have a number of submission points.
Okay.
And we also look at, so this isn't the end necessarily, this is the one submission, and then we also have updates, progress monitoring updates.
It's a live document similar to a school improvement plan, for example. And this is phase 2. We already we just came to the end of our SOA plan that Dr. Tutwiler had done.
Yes.
Last year, I did a reflection on that work. The 4 focus areas are pretty much the same focus areas. We're just going much deeper now. So the feedback that we got during the first phase and the feedback that we're getting for this phase, it's all a live document. We will make adjustments as we go.
And it was really to get their feedback on those focus areas, not to create new ones, to make sure that, within those focus areas, what their concerns were.
Member Castellanos.
So that kind of answered my my question around this. There are multiple submission points. We have progress monitors. This is phase 2. It's a live document. So the numbers, though, those numbers are not. Yeah, we'll basically, once we get the package for budget in time, we'll have a whole another analysis, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
These numbers are within the budget.
Okay.
Right? These are part of the proposed budget.
Yes, but they're subjected to change based off of, I guess, the feedback from, I know there was that survey, but throughout this process.
Right, so the feedback doesn't change the priorities.
Okay.
It just informs, right, what we need to sometimes look at, revise, share with DESE, points that maybe, for some reason, we, as a team, when we develop this with input from leaders, that we may need to consider for the future. It's not going to change the categories at this point or the funds that have been allocated. There was a commitment made when the SOA plan started, and so we don't deviate, right? From that, what we look at is how we made improvements by making these investments year after year.
And some of these areas are already identified by DESE. For example, when you talk about multi-tiered systems of support or high-quality instructional materials, those are areas that DESE puts out and say, you choose from these areas in terms of what is your data saying you need to focus on. We don't just come up with them.
Member Gailey.
I think you answered my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. What is the will of the committee?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Member Reed?
Yes.
Member Sadowite?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Communications and information. Dr. Alvarez.
So I'll invite Dr. Colella up to speak and share a letter that you have also in your packets. And it states tiered focus monitoring civil rights criteria on 10C, student discipline.
Okay, so this is, Attorney Gallo was supposed to be here with me tonight, but he is not feeling well. So I am here, and I'm here to answer any of the questions that you might have around this. But this was from Tiered Focus Monitoring and something that was noted from our 2020-2021 data. And it was noted as one of the civil rights indicators as partially implemented. And so an action plan was put into place. I think that it's, outlined many of the actions that we took to and submitted progress reports to DESE regarding it, and recently received notification that they deemed it as corrected action.
That means we were released from the state monitoring, so we need to celebrate. Because both categories that we discussed in the early fall that we were cited for, we've been released from. So that's significant progress from not only the SPED team, but a collective effort of all of our teachers and leaders to make sure that we're in compliance. And so we only have one more category that will be reviewed in 25, which is our next group.
That's the next round.
Right,
Yeah,
in the next
of
round
the cycle.
that we need to focus on. But we've been released from. Can I say that again? We've been released.
Yeah, no, I know.
I have a question.
Member Gailey.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Colella, or Dr. Colella. This news, Dr. Alvarez, is so exciting. It's like the first time in, 10 years that we have been this close to totally being released from.
Halfway there.
We're almost there, and I can't thank you enough, and this is the enthusiasm I think you're looking for, because this is not an easy task, and anyone on this, especially Mr. Dugan down the end,
Hey, what's happening?
this is exciting.
I'm very excited.
All right.
Yeah,
I didn't get to see your eyes, so I didn't know how you were really feeling.
Well, you put me down here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations to the whole team, and thank you for everyone for the work. Yeah, member.
Yeah,
David,
no, I want to express. Congratulations, Dr. Colella.
This was not a congratulations to me, please. This is like a team. This was a team effort,
Well,
and
to your team.
all of the principals came together for this root cause analysis and really digging into the data. So this is please goes out to everyone.
Yeah, well, you're right, the whole team. So it's a awesome thing. Just a quick clarifying question. So this means that disciplinary actions down, suspensions, expulsions, those types of things. It's all down.
So we were looking at the data from last year. Everything had come down, and we, are digging into it even more, and we're putting practices in place so that we can continually be evaluating that and, giving schools that information and having them be reflective. We came up with some action steps and, from the root cause analysis, and, we're trying to implement some of those even with the rollout of the new IEP and considering what those needs are.
Great. Thank you very much, and congratulations to the team again. Thank you.
You're the leader.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And our last item in communications and information is the superintendent's report. So I'll start by saying that inclusion lies at the heart of our educational mission. As we closed February with Black History Month, schools highlighted the civil rights movement of the past and present. Former Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall was celebrated for his impactful achievements in crucial court cases related to voter rights, fighting housing discrimination, and ending segregation. His legacy reminds our community of the importance of ensuring equal opportunities and access for everyone. His inspiring words encompass this truth. We deal here with the rights of all of our children, whatever their race, to an equal start in life and an equal opportunity to reach their full potential as citizens. Those children have been denied that right in the past, deserve better than to see fences thrown up to deny them that right in the future. In celebrating Women's History Month, we recognize women's pivotal role throughout history, both in shaping our past and influencing the future. Recognizing and amplifying the contributions of women from diverse backgrounds is not only a matter of historical accuracy, but also a crucial step towards fostering a more inclusive and equitable society. By highlighting women's achievements in various fields, we inspire our students to dream big and pursue their aspirations regardless of gender barriers. To promote true belongingness, capacity, and skill building, LPS will partner with Dr. Darnisa Jackson and Dr. Lee Title, both racial equity strategists and nationally recognized educators who will be instrumental in developing our actual DEI plan as we move forward. And their mentoring and training programs have helped develop DEI departments and school districts nationally. Their experience as founding co-chairs of the Reimagining Integration Diverse and Equitable Schools at Harvard placed their work at the forefront of the DEI strategic planning world. Beginning in April of 2024 through 2025, they will be working with our senior leaders providing principals and administrators opportunities to practice pivots and innovations on belonging-based work, and providing further opportunities in coaching to support visioning through equity cycles of improvement. And Dr. Amante Jackson will mentor, train, and lead the educators in the affinity group spaces. We recognize that student voice is a cornerstone of our educational LPS philosophy, and our current initiatives emphasize students holding themselves and adults accountable for being diversity champions. Empowering students to express their perspectives, concerns, and aspirations enhances their educational experience and fosters a sense of ownership and agency in their learning journey. For example, our LPS inclusivity teams have been preparing their youth participatory action research projects in anticipation of this year's spring summit. Inclusivity Summit. As such, I'd like to share the numerous projects that are in progress at this time. We're so excited about a number of projects. The first is we're creating the first Muslim Student Association, and we celebrated International Day to Fight Islamophobia. Prospective members, including Yusura Arfiki, Jihan Al-Jarudi, Rowan Shihata, and Ana Malima, have already begun consulting with the Department of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion regarding their vision for understanding, awareness, and belonging. We wish our students a happy Eid al-Fitr Ramadan, marking the end of the holy month of Ramadan in April. The Superintendent Student Cabinet, centering student youth voices, and the LPS Teachers of Color affinity leaders met to provide student perspectives on critical topics. This cabinet has also provided ongoing consultation and accountability to multiple policy and procedure committees regarding the school dress code and high school schedule, making themselves readily available for these meaningful consultations. I want to recognize our incredible student leaders: Ana Malima, Gianna Kawan, Bu Desaya, Janaya Rojas, Javier Patricio Santo, Rachel Villanueva Martinez, Awan Cassidy Galdames Garcia, Genesis Castro, and Morelis Villegas Lopez for their dedication and commitment to student voice. Our Genders and Sexuality Alliances are student-run organizations at our secondary schools that unite the LGBTQ+ community and allied youth to build community and organize around issues impacting them in schools and community. Students from around the district gathered at Marshall Middle School for an afternoon of activities and artwork, including introducing a partnership between GSA and our inclusivity teams to launch a No Place for Hate awareness campaign to combat incidents of bias and hatred. This GSA event highlights the importance of community building, support, leadership with our students, which are all central to shaping awareness initiatives and a culture of belonging. We're grateful to all the students that participated and to MX Knapp Brennan for their leadership and vision. Our superintendent's teacher cabinets, elementary and secondary, met to discuss the pressing topics they identified collectively through school site polls. They continue to shape this platform to express their concerns and insights regarding critical issues pertaining to educator roles. These monthly meetings have allowed teachers to share innovative ideas and contribute ongoing dialogue surrounding the district's educational landscape, and we appreciate their dedication and representation. Equity is in motion at LPS. I want to celebrate the teachers, students, staff, and leaders for their commitment to change when we have made a call for action. Together, we have accomplished more than we can share in this meeting. We will continue to provide regular updates through various means of communication to uphold our promise of transparency. Change happens one day at a time. We are an example of the change that the rest of the country needs and will want to one day replicate. I'm wishing everyone who celebrates Easter a happy Easter and a restful weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Just the will of the committee.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
That's my favorite.